Okay, I know my varieties and I've done some other things on planting for the farm, but what about laying off my rows? What about my plants? Well, let's talk about that. Hey guys, Dan the Man with Raulston Acres. We're going to talk a little bit today about laying off our rows, things in the field, things that we do out in the field. And so I just thought we'd jump off into it right quick. And I want to show you first a little bit about laying off the rows. Uh, you know, there are several schools of thought about how to lay the rows off on planting trees in the field. One is, okay, get them out there, 10-foot spacings where they're 10 by 10s or something like that. But if you're looking at a small farm, you're going to have to make the most of the acreage that you have. So you want to try to get as many plants in the ground as you possibly can in the small amount of acres that you're planting. Um, if you've got large amount of acres, then you could go out, to the larger spacing. But you also have to consider that when you start getting these plants closer and closer together, it's going to be harder to keep them up as far as mowing between them. And also, disease is easier to spread amongst trees that are close together than it is if they're a little further apart. They like to, especially the fungus variety. We're in the southeastern United States here, and we have to deal with that all the time. So, as far as letting air flow around the tree and everything, you don't want to get too close spacing. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do here, and I'm going to step back here and let you see some of these trees here. We plant our trees on 7-foot spacing, which basically means they're 7 feet apart and the rows are 7 feet wide. So, but between this side and this side over here is roughly 7 feet. And also the spacing between each one of the trees is 7 feet. Why did I pick that? Well, again, I go back to what other farmers have taught me in the past, and they say that, this is a medium or a compromise between some of your larger spaces and smaller. Another thing, the reason that I went with 7 by 7, I'm able to get through these rows pretty easily with my mowers and with my small tractor, the workhorse that we talked about in some of the other videos. As far as spreading fertilizer, as far as spraying and things like this, I found that more convenient for me with what I'm doing. Plus the fact that they're not real close. But now I will tell you this: when these trees here get another couple of years on them, and they need to be sheared right now. I know we're just about ready to start that, but and we'll have that in another video, of course. But when they start getting to be 6, 7 feet tall, they're going to come out, branch out a little bit and be taller. So your spacing to go between the rows is going to be a little more narrow than what it was when they were small, like maybe these over here on the far side. So that's one thing to consider. But that's why we chose a 7 by 7. I have heard other farmers like maybe a 6 by 8. Some do an 8 by 8. Some do a 6 by 6. Again, you're getting them pretty close when you do that. But I wouldn't advise anything closer than that. But it's personal preference. It's personal preference. I think if you took a poll, you'd get them all over the board as far as the row spacings and things like this. But anyway, that is my take on row spacing. But let's give you a little closer look. Okay, as you can see, I've got some of the smaller trees right over here, and I've got some of the larger trees right here. Uh, and you can see sort of the area that I had talked about going up and down the rows here, right through here with your mower, and also going crossways here if you want to with mowers or uh, your tractor or whatever. But you just want to have them accessible. Now, speaking of accessibility, one of the other things that we did, and I'll turn it around, there's some of the smaller ones that we have. I did about every, say, 10 rows or so. You might see this row right here is a little wider than the rest of them. And what we did there is to uh, give a row where I could take my truck down through here. I could take a bigger tractor if I needed to. Uh, that has my sprayer if I need to color any trees. So, you know, this is sort of about every, say, 10 or 12 rows, or maybe even as few as 9 rows. You might want to increase your spacing to around 10 feet or something to accommodate a larger tractor or a larger piece of equipment like a truck or something like that. But I wanted you to see this a little more closely. These are some small plants. They've been in the ground a little over a year. And then these over here are larger. They will be ready for harvest here in about 2 more years, believe it or not. The Murray cypress grow that fast. So wanted you to see that. And let's go up to the nursery. Another consideration you might want to have is, where am I going to put my baby plants? You know, when you get started, sometimes you might want to buy the 1 trade gallon, 3 trade gallon, whatever, of plants to plant in your field. But then there's other times when you might want to buy the small seedlings, or liners as they call them, from cuttings, and grow them up like I do here for about 6 to 8 months, anywhere from to get their roots established. So that's just something to consider. Where am I going to have a space to do that? Now, you might want to notice that we put shade cloth over our trees, and we have waterers there that we've built. This doesn't come in the first year. This takes a while to get to the point to where that you sort of have an idea of what you're going to need to grow these plants out. And we're sort of in the middle of our planting season. We're off today because of the rain, but this is something that you might want to consider. Where am I going to put them? In a shade, something out of the direct sun for a while so they can grow. These things are in black pots most of the time, and by being in these black pots, you can tell that the sun will shine and heat them up. And this happens to be a Murray cypress variety. You can see them there. I put them on the landscape fabric and try to grow them out. And of course, we do have, you can see these in the distance, the PVC, crude PVC waterers. I've taken them off for now for the cold weather, but you put these sprinkler heads on and they do a real good job. I've got a timer that they're on, but we'll show that in other videos. But as you can see, you're going to need some space. This right here, this little space right here, is pretty close to 100, maybe 90 Christmas trees. So if you get 400 or 500, it's going to take about I'm going to say a 20 by 16 area roughly to get all of them in. And you don't necessarily have to put them under shade cloth. You can use a shade tree, you can use various things, but you want them to get some sunlight. I just like the shade cloth because it's not that expensive, and I've just put up some 4x4s, and just to be honest with you, most of this is from scrap. And if you're doing much farming, you'll realize that scrap is important. You don't throw anything away. But and those tables there, that's what we use to pot up the plants with. So we'll do that in other videos. But I wanted you to see that we do have an area, and I would suggest planning for an area that you can put your baby trees in a holding area until they get big enough to plant, if you don't buy the ones big enough to plant to begin with. Well, there's the rain, so I guess that we're coming to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about getting your plants and spacing your rows. And we'll be getting more in depth on this in other videos. So if you have any comments about things that you would like to see in other videos down the road, please be sure to leave those for us. Don't forget to hit the like button if you like the content of this message, or this video rather. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Cost you nothing, can only help us, doesn't cost you a penny. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Farming Around the Christmas Trees.